Arnaud Mercier in 2005 wrote a paper contrasting between war and the media, which was posted on December 2005 by the International Review of the Red Cross. And I'm going to link it to the bottom of the description. So fact that the abstract is to consider the relationship between the war and the media is to look at the way in which the media are involved in conflict, either as targets, war on the media, or as an auxiliary, war thanks to the media. On the basis of this distinction, four major developments may be cited that today combine to make war, above all, a media spectacle. Photography, which opened the door to manipulation through stage management, live technologies, which raised the question of journalists' critical distance vis-a-vis the material they broadcast, in which they facilitate the process of using them, pressure on the media and media globalization, which have led to a change in the way the political and military authorities go about making propaganda. And finally, the fact that censorship is increasingly coming into dispute, which has prompted the authorities to think of novel ways of controlling journalists. Lately, I've been seeing on media channels themselves, and as well as viral media, that we have a gravitation toward the right in regards to the current conflicts, which are democratically supported. Two of them in particular, the Yemen crisis, and of course, the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, both have been supported by a Republican and Democratic president. One is Donald Trump and the other is Joseph Biden. If you want to even go back further, the Yemen crisis started under Obama. So what do we have here? Well, we have one party in particular. Now, I've been saying this ad nauseum for many years now, even on interviews, that there is no two-party system. There never has been. They're only existing here in the United States when it comes to greater geopolitical or foreign lobby influence. Well, the left and right usually tend to agree about these bloated contracts going to Raytheon, Boeing, and LG3 Technologies, or going to these countries that's to continue these conflicts in the Middle East, such as Israel and Saudi Arabia. So, in essence, what I'm trying to show you is that when you look at media today, you'll notice that there is a support for certain conflicts, such as what the left supports in regards to the Ukraine conflict. Here is an example.
Secretary Austin went on to warn of what he called a dangerous spiral nuclear proliferation among other countries ruled by autocrats. CNN is reporting that the U.S. is running low on advanced weapons and ammunition systems that have been critical to Ukraine's success on the battlefield. Joining us now to talk more about this is CNN military analyst, retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton. Okay, Cedric, how concerned are you about these shortages and if they possibly could change momentum in this conflict?
Yeah, I am actually very concerned about this, Brianna.
Really?
So one of the key things to look at is these are the types of weapon systems that are being used by us right now. So we've got howitzer rounds, the 155 millimeter variety, Stinger, anti-aircraft missiles. These are, of course, critically important, and they've been talked about quite a bit. The anti-radiation missile known as HARMS, these surface-to-surface missiles that are part of the HIMARS system, and of course the Javelins. So these have been critical force enablers for the Ukrainians. So far, we've spent $18.3 billion on the Ukraine war since February 24th. Now, that's going to definitely be going up, but the other thing you have to ask yourself is, what is giving us more bang for the buck? Compare this to Afghanistan, where we threw a lot of money into Afghanistan, up to $1 trillion, according to some estimates. This right here is a lot less than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's billions. Billions are a
Not to leave the right out of this, they have their own agendas when it comes to conflict, such as
Tucker, I'm going to be
this.
honest with you. They're not bluffing at all. They have been preparing for this scenario for 30 years. I mean, if you go back to 1995, 1996, we had a similar situation with China when Taiwan's president wanted to come back to Cornell University to visit his alma mater. We had a very similar crisis. But at the time, the United States was the overwhelming military superpower. We had no problems worrying about China. In fact, Chinese military officials couldn't even find our aircraft carriers. Today, the situation is very different. The Chinese have prepped for this scenario. They have thousands of ballistic, cruise missiles, hypersonic missiles, carrier killer missiles. So if there was ever a war between the United States and China, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to attack with a bolt from the blue. They're going to destroy our satellites in orbit. They're going to destroy our communications equipment. We're not going to be fighting about transgender issues on TikTok anymore because TikTok's not going to work in the United States. And then they're going to destroy our aircraft carriers, destroy all of our bases in Asia. This has all been war gamed out. I've actually fought this war in simulators for over 10 years. You know what happens every time, Tucker? We lose.
You know, Arnaud went on to say that in wartime, the civilian and military authorities can easily find intolerable the concept of a free press, assigning independent journalists to seek information or images that they would prefer to suppress. War correspondents with a mission to verify their information at source first appeared around the mid-19th century and soon caught the public eye. One example is William Roswell, who covered the Crimean War between 1854 and 1855, later the American Civil War for the Times of London, which, whether to ensure success on the battlefield or to keep up morale among the troops or among civilians, governments very quickly imposed radical censorship on journalists. This is not new, in other words, that Arnaud is writing. And when you see media today, no, they cater to media manipulation, psychological warfare. I'll even link to this fantastic interview I did with Patrick McFarlane, one of the best discussions I ever had on any subject in regards to psychological operations that the U.S. Army and the media tend to employ when it comes to psychologically analyzing and manipulating the viewers of either the left and right. Doesn't matter. You are the victim. And you're the victim of disinformation and media manipulation while you support atrocities. So what do we do about it? I mean, well, I would have to say that turn off the TV, right? But you probably most likely won't, because then you say, well, what do we do without TV? You would read, which is probably better for your brain than for your eyes when it comes to the TV. Actually, when it comes to TV, much likely don't employ your brain because they don't actually entertain or educate the audience in terms of entertainment. I mean, that's a long time ago, 70s and 80s, maybe, when we had decent shows. Today, we rarely have anything that doesn't perpetuate a certain stereotype when it comes along to human constructs such as sexism, racism, or politics. Everything is divisive. Everything is immobilizing and paralyzing to the human mind. So stop supporting atrocities and stop supporting people who perpetrate atrocities. And that comes from right here in our backyard.